Welcome to Bounce Around Charleston. I'm Randolph Miller. Coming up in today's show, Lowcountry Autism Consortium is coordinating events as a part of Autism Awareness Month, the month of April. Founder and Executive Director of Lowcountry Autism Consortium, Rob SCHARSTEIN, will be here to tell us about some of the events that will be happening all month long. Charleston Fashion Week quickly became one of the most exciting fashion events held under the fashion tents in Marion Square. Shay Wingfield will be here to give us a recap of this year's Fashion Week. And coming up later in the show, we will have a performance from singer and songwriter Elise Testone. Now, sitting here with me, Rob SCHARSTEIN. Welcome to Bounce Around Charleston.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
What is autism?
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder that affects adults and children. It's characterized by social skill delays. They oftentimes have language delays as well, and language problems, and repetitive behaviors.
Okay, you're not just the executive director, but this is something that's very personal with you.
It is. I have two sons that are on the autism spectrum. They were both diagnosed in the 90s, and at that time it was very difficult to find qualified people who knew about behavioral modification therapy, diagnostic acumen, those sort of things. So we had a lot of problems getting them plugged in.
Okay, talk about Light It Up Blue.
Light It Up Blue, a great group that has done tremendous things for autism is an organization called Autism Speaks. One of the things they've done in order to raise awareness is they've encouraged landmarks to be lit up blue. So for example, New York City, they did the Empire State Building, and then they did the Rockefeller Center. They'll do bridges. They've done famous buildings over in Europe. We had last year the Dock Street Theater. We also had the Exchange Building. MUSC has a tower. They light up blue each year, so it's usually diverse landmarks.
Okay, and then there's a great dance-a-thon coming up.
Oh yeah, the dance-a-thon. That's at the end of the month. It's April 26th, I believe. It's the last Saturday. It's going to be at Trident Academy. And they'll be doing a number of dance steps, Zumbathon. You know, I'm not a dancer, so I don't know. I can get out there and move around, but I don't know that people want me to stay out there doing that.
Tell me, why should the public be so informed about autism?
Well, it's such an encompassing disorder. It creates so many problems. But in the family unit, the occurrence rate is now up to 1 in 68. And part of that's due to improved diagnosis, but it's becoming so very common. The unemployment rate for these kids is 90%, higher than almost any other disability. So not only is it an educational process or problem of how to deal with them when they're first diagnosed, hopefully as young as possible, but when they get plugged into the system at 2 or 3 years of age, they're having a huge economic impact. Now, the good part is the earlier we diagnose them, the better they do. So we all win in a case like that. So we need to be aware of what the symptoms are, what are some of those early flags, and some of those. There's a list that you can actually go online to the Center for Disease Control, and they have those on there.
Some families only have one child. You told me you have 2.
I do.
So what's an average day around your house?
Well, both my boys are adults now.
Okay.
So they're no longer in my house. When they were, it was oftentimes a matter of getting up just like any other time, but you had to give them more help. Before they were totally independent, they weren't able to dress themselves. It was hard for them to communicate effectively what their needs were. There were just more challenges. And not to say other folks don't have worse situations. I mean, by no means am I saying that. But it was just unique challenges and stressors. Behavioral problems were pretty common. There's a lot of frustration on their part because they can't communicate. Sort of like if you and I were in a foreign country trying to talk to somebody and we didn't know the language, we'd get frustrated.
Okay, so what can the public do to help you?
To help me or help us,
help
the Lowcountry Autism Consortium. One of the biggest things is volunteering of time. Folks out there that are touched by autism, when they're in the midst of it, they probably don't have any free time, and they're sort of laughing right now because that's not even a consideration. But once their kids get older, or once they're able to get some help, if they can give back, That's critical. I mean, we're almost entirely a volunteer organization. I donate all my time for free. I don't get paid a thing. And most of our people are like that. Oftentimes their parents or grandparents, aunts or uncles, that somehow their family's been touched. Mm-hmm. So that's a big help for us as volunteers.
Should there be something that would clue a person that your child may be dealing with autism? Sure.
When as early as 6 months, when the child and the mother interact, the eye gaze, the lack of it would be a potential indicator. You know, why isn't my baby bonding? Because that's a normal thing that happens. Mm-hmm. When it doesn't, that's a red flag. Another thing is how they coo or verbal noises they'll make, not words necessarily yet, but even that may be minimal. But the eye gaze, the lack of bonding, and then early on with language development, it's almost always delayed.
Okay, so now, you light it up blue.
Light it up blue.
And that's happening?
That's happening tomorrow, all over the world.
Light it up blue. It's an April month-long autism awareness campaign sponsored by the
Autism Speaks. And if you have any questions, go to Lowcountry Autism Consortium's website, Autism Speaks website. Also tonight we're having a town hall meeting that's free at Seacoast Church, West Ashley campus. We'll have experts from MUSC, local providers, Lowcountry Autism Foundation will be there as well, Trident Academy, and Department of Disabilities and Special Needs.
Okay. So the event, Light It Up Blue, April month-long autism awareness campaign sponsored by Autism Speaks, encouraging residents and businesses to create their own blue lights displays during April. There's a dance-a-thon for autism at the Trident Academy Gymnasium at 1455 Walkendar Road in Mount Pleasant on Saturday, April 26th at 10 a.m. General admission, $10. Children 5 and under admitted free. The dance-a-thon proceeds will benefit Lowcountry Autism Consortium. It's a non-profit organization. For more information, visit the events page at Lowcountry Autism Consortium website at www.lowcountryautismconsortium.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Charleston, for being here.
It's been a real pleasure.
Okay, coming up next, thousands gather to the Charleston to attend one of the most fashionable events of the season. Shay Wingfield gives us a recap at Charleston Fashion Week.